It's one of the fastest growing economies on the planet. But what's really fueling China's transformation into an industrial superpower? Tonight on a special edition of CNS TV, a look at the so-called workplace of the world, where coal is driving development but blackening the air. And where a new generation of car owners begs the question, what if everyone in China drove? 3 stories on China's changing environment coming up next.
In China, coal is king. Over the last few years, China's coal production has skyrocketed, while at the same time, the rail system that supports it has failed to grow. China's energy consumption and production shows no signs of slowing. While the rest of the world searches for more economical energy sources, China has stuck with coal. One of the largest coal-producing regions in China is located outside Datong, a 6-hour train ride from Beijing. The irony is that the increase of passenger trains like the one I am riding is one reason coal has jumped the rails and onto the roads. To pick up the slack, China's black gold has to be shipped by truck. Coal is everywhere. It's in the air you breathe. It's in the wind. And it spills from every tractor-trailer. Coal's fingerprint is also visible on this statue at the Yungan Grottos, one of China's most significant historical attractions. Located about a half hour outside Datong, the grottos hold a collection of over 50,000 Buddhist statues, built more than 1,000 years ago. One of the largest mines in the Shanxi province, Datong Coal, is right across from the grottos. In this world, the change in coal shipping from rail to truck has created a new industry for young men like 23-year-olds Hu Li Jun and Xi Chaofang. The winter sun here sets at 5. The men will stick around until 8, trying to avoid fines by waiting out a police checkpoint up the road. The men haul coal 13 long trips a month within Shanxi. Total salary, 2,000 yen, or about $250 a month. Truckers in coal country live by few rules. First, horns and abrupt turns substitute for defensive driving skills. Second, trucks break down all the time. Third, there are few modern tools. This truck blew a rear tire, and the drivers decide to fix it in the center of the road. The young truckers only have a long steel rod to repair the tire. The overloaded trucks reduce country roads to little more than potholes. Along the road, fuel pumps and toilets pass for gas stations, a gathering place for truckers to rest. Li Di-shun is unemployed and hopes to break into trucking. He is traveling with his friend. Now it is his turn to take over another long shift. Whether or not he continues learning to truck depends. The truck is owned by a group who share the driving and the profits. A single trip can earn them up to 3,000 yen. The more coal the men haul, the larger the paycheck they will receive. The coal on this overloaded trailer is barely contained by netting and loosely tied ropes. As they prepare to leave the station, the driver cannot get the engine started. A local mechanic comes to help. In a scrappy yet resourceful move, they hammer on the battery, chisel away the corrosion. Once again, free to head back on the road. Some trucks can't be fixed in the parking lot of a gas station. Towns outside Datong have special shops and mechanics who tackle some tougher jobs. Workers as young as 14 repair the trucks. Like the truckers, mechanics here deal with many of the same inefficiencies. The owner of the shop says his mechanics are some of the best around. The shop has become their life. The long hours are spent alongside some of the same conveniences as home. He tells us business is changing. Police fines at checkpoints and regulations at borders are making it too expensive for truckers to make a profit. So many no longer ship outside the province and instead drop their coal here at the border. Miles away from coal country, Beijing is striving for a cleaner image. Just try to find coal here. New regulations restrict coal use in the city to curb pollution. In preparation for the 2008 Olympics, the government is moving factories using coal outside the city limits. The delivery of coal has been diverted to those factories and also to the ocean for export. The only coal that presently eludes authorities can be found in alleys and stacked in doorways in the oldest neighborhoods of Beijing. Today, these honeycomb discs of compressed coal are delivered to homes by bike. A woman living with a heart condition says she needs coal to heat her home. The government expects coal to be completely eliminated from Beijing by this next winter, but some don't quite think that will happen. Until then, the question that remains is whether China's new economy and strict environmental standards will remain in place after the Olympics, and whether poor homeowners will continue to get their coal like this, peddled through the streets of Beijing.
Fleets of trucks trail coal dust along the highway. Black piles are everywhere. There's little doubt which industry drives China's Shanxi province. Now in his 60s, former village leader Hao Guijin has seen life in the once fertile countryside change.
我的围炉是说生活搞得更好一些，提得高一点吧，这就必须有护呢。我的护呢就是这个地方其他都没有，只有一个煤矿。
Coal fuels more than China's rocketing demand for energy. It keeps families warm, cooks their food, and at times even inspires art. This traditional opera is dedicated to the mythical fire god and provider of coal. China's red-hot demand for coal means some mining villages can afford to bring in traveling operas. But for others, such prosperity has come at a cost. In the valley below the neighboring village lies a coal mine, and the village officials own the biggest shares in the company. Tucked in the midst of this complex are two additional but illegal mines. Neither regulated nor monitored, they've undermined the village and changed its nature.
在我印象当中，好家在我小的时候吧，这好家在的山上的草，到处全是绿油油的。我记忆当中，我倒是偷过人家的西瓜，偷过人家的西瓜，在人家西瓜地里边。可是到这有煤矿了以后，这水土流失比较严重。 环境污染导致这些核桃树了、柿子树了，还有就是那些咱们所说的些瓜果树了哈。
Once a village of more than 1,500, Hualin and his parents are among roughly 150 who remain.
望江，人在睡梦当中就能听到这些坑下边缓跑的声音。 轰隆轰隆的响声。
By constantly ripping coal from directly underneath the village, mines have not only destroyed the environment, but also the villagers' homes. It's not just one room or even one house. Across the village, the destruction is the same.
Uh, 咱们走到这不是房子搭上棚架，也不顶事儿了。
哦，这别这样，我操！
这上面的屋檐也歪出来了，
我学不会。
都能升进去了。这难道就是咱们所说的咱们的和谐社会吗？
2 years ago, the Chinese government began promoting what it called the harmonious society, saying that harmony among people and with nature was more important than growing the economy. And at the National Coal Museum, all does look harmonious. The museum honors coal as a key to making life easier. Visitors can experience modern Chinese mining.
哇，那这一个是绝对的真家伙啊！他曾经是在煤矿下面工作过的。他这个呢是叫做。
And also see how primitive China's old mines were. But far from the display cases, at least 10,000 still primitive, illegal, unregulated mines pepper the countryside. And that's the government's figure. Some mine bosses, they say it's closer to 50,000. Yet this chaotic cottage industry provided over half of China's 2.3 billion tons of coal last year.
人家水矿吧，原来是下边年的煤也多，给出煤来，一部分给解决了从事的搬迁问题，一部分作为安排村民的生活。
这危患不是一天比一天严重了，所以说我就计划组织一些群众。
你找政府人家退，找到县政府。 找一次不理，找2次不理，我根本给你解决吧。
Probably because village officials hold the biggest stake in the mines and profit from them. So Hualin, he went to the media. Retaliation against his family was brutal.
把我堵到那个炕边上打我，把我的这一条胳膊还有左腿，就是这左脚，打的就是骨折了，不是。 我妈当时是去的来挡我一下了，2个人打我，是1个人打我母亲。我母亲一直到现在一直就等于是生活不能自理。我一直给我母亲就是做饭，有些时候洗衣服，叫我们尽快搬家，离开这个危险的地方。
For Hualin and other families remaining in the village, the options are few. New homes are being built. They aren't finished yet, but the ground is already giving way underneath their foundations. A story familiar to these villagers. They've moved twice already because of mining, most recently in the late 1980s, but it's never been far enough.
时隔32年，也就在采矿区，因为第2次是采矿区，也就随着呢。 也就又开始想得了会儿。
Hao Zifu describes retired life in the village with a single word.
苦啊！苦啊！
Watching his village ruined time and again, he's given up.
卖都卖进去，不卖进去了，我都没咋走出了，我能咋的走的？
Villagers could move to the closest city, but it's a bleak option. Pollution clouds the sky, and raw sewage flows through the streets.
劳动是没地方，要是你农民，你其他的能力也没有，只可以等待，没啥任何的选择，有什么的选择了？
我也是觉得忍无可忍了，实在不能生活了嘛。
And Hualin, he's not alone. This year, the government says some 600,000 people need to be moved because of mining in Shanxi province alone.
Peking University in the heart of Beijing pumps out the best and brightest of China. These students are the country's future professionals, one of the world's largest and fastest growing new consumer classes. For these young people, the new marketplace has brought a new obsession. That obsession is the automobile.
怎么回事啊？我就觉得它比较小，我挺喜欢的，款式挺漂亮的。款式挺漂亮的，然后价钱方面呢？
Foreign, domestic, cheap, they're all being sold in China today. Most students and millions of other Chinese people cannot afford cars yet, but this is not a problem for some.
I can pay for a car, so that's why.
Simon is a 28-year-old technology consultant and one of the tens of millions of young professionals across China who have options their parents did not have just 10 years ago. Simon and his wife bought their first car just a few months ago. He explains how he found it.
And we'll go to the market, go to the car market.
Like most days in Beijing, there's traffic.
亚运村。我看今天可以去。那是最大的，北京最大的。
Eventually, traffic picks up, and Simon pulls into the marketplace. The Chinese car marketplace may seem similar to the US, but it's far bigger, sometimes with over 100 companies in a single area. And to young couples like this one, it is a new experience available for the first time. On the streets of Beijing, the divide is growing between the rich and the poor. In the past year, incomes in the city have gone up by 19.5%, and the economy is expanding at over 11% a quarter. This is what the rise of China's booming middle class looks like. Some say this is great for China.
Incredibly rapid development that we can.
But others, even those in the car industry, like Alexis Vanier of Peugeot, have some concerns.
They have the same challenge that other parts of the world, like, as I say, CO2 emissions, fuel consumption, urban mobility, but the scale is different because this extremely rapid growth of the auto industry and development of car in China.
Like it or not, car culture will continue to grow despite warnings about the impact of climate change and the consequences of diminishing resources worldwide. In total, 5 million cars were sold in 2006, and the market is expanding almost 20% a year. Car companies like Peugeot, the fifth largest in China, depend on that. According to Liu Zhen, an ad executive at Peugeot headquarters in Beijing, there's one driving force in today's economy. What drives this frenzied demand? Seductive advertising. Dreams of being able to hit the open road are taking hold. It's not just advertising, it's in Chinese mainstream media. I Love My Car is similar to National Public Radio's Car Talk, where people phone in to ask questions about their cars.
小排量车的车主常常抱怨，在行驶过程中，空调常常显得力不从心。
But the show isn't just to learn about cars. I Love My Car inspires new drivers to hit China's new expressways and take trips of their own.
说到这个自驾游呢，我觉得你看眼下11长假马上就到了，我觉得选择
Golden Week, the government-created holiday, which happens 3 times a year, was set up to get people out on the road to spend money on tourism.
好，欢迎廖佳来到我们的节目当中。
欢迎您，大家你好。
欢迎。
For many new car buyers at the marketplace, the hope of a road trip during the holiday is worth the price of admission. Prices for a compact car start at just below $10,000 US. And with personal income rising rapidly and major auto price wars underway, cars are increasingly affordable for the average professional in China's cities. Shandong is an 8 to 10 hour drive, and this young couple is just one of millions across China that plans to hit the road during the first Golden Week holiday, May 1st. Back at PKU, urban planning professor Lu Bin says that Golden Week was a well-thought-out plan.
政府希望通过旅游来拉动经济。
He says that the success of Golden Week and exploding demand for cars can also be attributed to China's vast new inter-province highway system, rivaling only the U.S. interstate system worldwide. There were no highways in China before 1978, and not a single expressway before the north-south Beijing-Guangzhou was started in 1986. China has created in 20 years what it took the U.S. over 60 years to build, and China's system is projected to surpass the U.S. highway in less than 5 years. On the way to the tourist beach, all of the typical American amenities can be found: rest stops, gas stations, trucks. But in China, this roadside life is new, and it has its own Chinese flavor. It isn't Golden Week yet, but at one of the many popular beach destinations, Beidaihe, an off-season worker tells of a quickly changing landscape.
3个点就干到这儿来了，开个160、170迈，3个多点左右就过来了，还是有好处，还是有好处。那大约您感觉从西安这条高速公路来的北京人来的特别多，就是京沈这条。
By 2020, the number of motor vehicles on China's roads is projected to be as high as 110 million. That's half as many as the U.S. and slightly more than the total number of cars on the road worldwide as recently as 1985.
Of course, car is a tool of progress. People love their cars. It's a new freedom for them.
But in the context of China's sheer numbers, it is admittedly a major worry.
So in terms of CO2 emission, in terms of global warming, there are many challenges.
And it is difficult for most new buyers to make a difference, even if they want to. An 18-year-old student at PKU explains.
比如说，就是会如何影响你买车的抉择？
我觉得肯定会考虑那种环保型的，而且现在环保型的汽车其实很多的。我觉得现在那个大多数人都还是挺有环保意识的，但是由于经济状况的原因，其实就是可能70%的人还是会考虑就是买那种价廉物美的那种汽车，然后剩下的人。
Simon agrees, but as a busy professional who has already bought a car, he brings another perspective.
一般都不会考虑，只是觉得为了工作方便。中国有一句话就是年轻人拼命去挣钱，老了之后然后用钱拼命去保命。你看这个话怎么翻译？我不知道。
我的铃啊，妹妹滚滚的船，妹妹滚滚的白杨绿，妹妹滚滚的葵花鲜呐。